Okay. Terminator gonna get terminated. Arnold. Let's take a look at what Arnold had to say about this whole process, you know? He's talking directly to the
Love you,
Russian
Hasan,
people.
less than
Dude, this
3.
is 9 minutes long. You really want me to watch a 9-minute video of Arnold? I'm the governor. We're gonna talk about, you know, Vladimir Putin. You better stop it.
Buddy, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm sending this message through various different channels to reach my dear Russian friends and the Russian soldiers serving in Ukraine. I'm speaking to you today because there are things that are going on in the world
What
that
happened?
are being kept from you. Terrible things that you
My man looking like a hedgehog, dude. What the fuck? Yo. I mean, he's old, so it makes sense, but dude, I don't want to watch this. He's just gonna fucking be like, you need to stop. You need to stop doing what you're doing in the Ukraine. You know, he's gonna say,
It's your boy.
watch it. You want me to watch 9 minutes of him just saying like, don't do what you're doing in the Ukraine? I mean, of course he's gonna say that. Yeah, and he's gonna try to use his like, you know, fame as a way to like probably try to reach out to Russian soldiers, and ultimately like it makes sense. I think it's probably nice. It is like, because it's hopeless, it's senseless.
But before I talk about the harsh realities, let me just tell you about the Russian who
You're
became my
Jimmy
hero.
Now? Hasan,
In 1961, when I was 14 years old, a very good friend of mine invited me to come to Vienna and to watch the World Weightlifting Championships. I was in the audience when Yuri Petrovich Vlasov won the World Championship title, becoming the first human being to lift 200 kilograms over his head. And somehow a friend of mine got me backstage. All of a sudden, there I was, a 14-year-old boy, standing in front of the strongest man in the world. I couldn't believe it. He reached out to shake my hand. I mean, I still had a boy's hand. He had this powerful man's hand that swallowed mine. And he was kind. And he smiled at me. I will never forget that day. Never. I went home and I put his photo above my bed to inspire me when I started lifting weights. My father told me to take down that picture and to find a German or an Austrian hero. He got really angry and we argued back and forth. He didn't like Russians because of his experience in the Second World War.
Wait. Uh-oh. That's an interesting thing to fucking admit, okay? Remember, boys, you know, people were upset about the when I was talking about the Austrian annexation.
You see, he was injured at Leningrad, where the Nazi army that he was part of did vicious harm to the great city and to its brave people. But I did not take the photograph down, no, because it didn't matter to me what flag Yuri Vlasov carried.
No, I mean, look, of course he was fucking, he had a Nazi dad, dude. Like, what do you mean? Look, that doesn't mean he is. Like, I don't think Arnold is a Nazi. Like, but yeah, no shit, dude. That's their fucking military at the time. Is like, anyway, but regardless, the reason why I'm saying that, and he is Austrian, but the reason why I said that specifically is because, like, now I don't know what the current attitude in the Austrian government is, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, while there was some resistance to the Hitler annexation of Austria, that by and large it was seen as a positive by the people there. Also have shared similar values. Of course, there were still resistance, and I don't know how Austria talks about it now, but there was also Germans who were fighting because they were forced to fight, that weren't a part of, like, there's varying degrees of like Nazi involvement in Germany. You know what I mean? But I think his father was a little bit more motivated in comparison to others who were maybe forced into conscription.
My connections to Russia didn't stop there, by the way. Oh, it actually deepened when I traveled there with bodybuilding and for my movies and met all my Russian fans. And on one of those trips, I remember I met Yuri Vlasev once again. It was in Moscow during the filming of Red Heat, which was the first.
He's literally speaking out against his against his father. Dude, I know, dude. I know. I'm talking about something entirely separate to the chatters. Can I please? Like, I know. He has talked about his dad being a Nazi before, and I think his grandfather too, like being a fascist. He is deeply ashamed of that, and many Germans are, and many Austrians are. That's completely understandable. Please shut up, chatters.
First American movie allowed to.
The separate point I was making was about the annexation of Austria, making it seem like that wasn't like something that people wanted on the ground.
It actually deepened when I traveled there with bodybuilding and for my movies and met all my Russian fans. And on one of those trips, I remember I met Yuri Vlasev once again. It was in Moscow during the filming of Red Heat, which was the first American movie allowed to film in Red Square. Now, he and I spent the whole day together. He was so thoughtful, so kind, and so smart, and, of course, very giving. He gave me this beautiful blue coffee cup.
This is nice.
Ever since then, I've been drinking my coffee out of every morning. Now, the reason why I'm telling you all of those things is that ever since I was 14 years old, I've had nothing but affections and respect for the people of Russia. The strength and the heart of the Russian people have always inspired me. And that is why I hope that you will let me tell you the truth about the war in Ukraine and what is happening there. No one likes to hear something critical of the government, I understand that. But as a longtime friend of the Russian people, I hope that you will hear what I have to say. And may I remind you that I speak with the same heartfelt concern as I spoke to the American people when there was an attempted insurrection on January 6th last year, when a wild crowd was storming the US Capitol, trying to overthrow our government. You see, there are moments like this that are so wrong, and then we have to speak up. And it's exactly the same with your government.
Bro, how are you going to fucking compare January 6th to, like, Russians who should speak out against the unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine, where, like, the consequences of that are 15 years prison sentence, like, immediately, versus the fucking pieces of shit that did the insurrection, the hog insurrection, barely got a fucking slap on the wrist, dude. Anyway, it's like, Jesus Christ. It's just wild. Like, at least this is good to combat Russophobia, though, because, like, you know, it is, for the first time, it is like a recognition that Russian people are human beings and separate from their government, which in most circumstances you don't really get from Western media, unfortunately. Like, people literally make it seem like it's that every Russian is at fault.
Government. I know that your government has told you that this is a war to denazify Ukraine. Denazify Ukraine. This is not true. Ukraine is a country with a Jewish president, I might add, whose father's 3 brothers were all murdered by the Nazis. You see, Ukraine.
Arnold about to be like, listen, I know Nazis when I see one. After all, I was raised by 3 of them.
He did not start this war. Neither did nationalists or Nazis. Those in power in the Kremlin started this war.
Every day.
By the way,
thumbs up.
I do agree with what he's saying. It's not the nationalists. It's not the Azov battalion that started the fucking war. It's Vladimir Putin. Straight up. It's true. And you can suck one if you try desperately to change that reality, but it's just fucking true. And even if you were like a fan of Russian foreign policy, or if you admire it or whatever the fuck, you still have to recognize that this is
Vladimir
Putin's
got
doing.
the oligarch Gork 3000.
Straight up. You know? This is doing. My dude, you're always talking about the Azov Battalion, Lamau. Do these people wait, you think, in the chat all day so they can fucking say that the moment I bring it up? Even when I'm saying, like, they are not the responsible party for this war? I think they literally wait, and they're just like, beep, beep, beep. He mentioned Azov Battalion. Time to fucking speak out.
This is not the Russian people's war. No. As a matter of fact, let me tell you, what you should know is that 141 nations at the UN voted that Russia was the aggressor and called for it to remove its troops immediately. Only 4 countries in the entire world voted with Russia. That is a fact. See, the world has turned against Russia because of its actions in Ukraine. Whole city blocks have been flattened by Russian artillery and bombs, including a children's hospital and a maternity hospital. 3 million Ukrainian refugees,
is there
mainly
TOS in
women,
this?
children and elderly, fled their country, and many more are trying to seek to get out. It is a humanitarian
And
crisis.
HasanAbi, I agree, it was Putin's doing,
Because of
but
its
don't you think he
brutality,
pushed to his last
Russia is
straw to
now
take action
isolated
against NATO?
from the
Like
Society
literally,
of
NATO
Nations.
kept getting closer. Also, it was
You're also
ticking time
not
for
being told the
Ukraine to join
truth
NATO sooner
about the
or later.
consequences of this war on Russia itself. I regret to tell you that thousands
There
of
is a way
Russian
to
soldiers that
assassinate
have been
Putin.
killed.
He is so old that you can
They
clap
have been
his
caught
cheeks into
between
a heart attack.
Ukrainians
Who's in?
fighting for their homeland and the Russian leadership fighting for conquest. Massive amounts of Russian equipment have been destroyed or abandoned. The destruction that Russian bombs are raining down upon innocent civilians has so outraged the world that the strongest global economic sanctions ever taken have been
That was low-key a snipe, dude. Straight up. There was a little bit of TOS there.
imposed on your country. Those who don't deserve it on both sides of the war will suffer. The Russian government has lied not only to the citizens, but to its soldiers. Some of the soldiers were told they were going to fight Nazis. Some were told that the Ukrainian people would greet them like heroes. And some were told that they were simply going on exercise. They didn't even know that they were going into war. And some were told that they were there to protect ethnic Russians in Ukraine. None of this is true. The fact is that Russian soldiers have faced fierce resistance from the Ukrainians who want to protect their families and their country. When I see babies being pulled out of ruins, I think that I'm watching a documentary about the horrors of the Second World War, not the news of the day. Now let me tell you, when my father arrived in Leningrad, he was all pumped up on the lies of his government. And when he left Leningrad, he was broken, physically and mentally. He lived the rest of his life in pain. Pain from a broken back, pain from the shrapnel that always reminded him of these terrible years, and pain from the guilt that he felt. To the Russian soldiers listening to this broadcast, you already know much of the truth that I've been speaking. You have seen it with your own eyes. I don't want you to be broken like my father. This is not the war.
I mean, if the Russian people were capable of hearing this from any of the outlets, like, it would be beautifully told, because it is a really personal story. But I don't think the most Russian people are going to hear about this is because they're watching my broadcast currently from a VPN, and I'm rebroadcasting it. You know what I mean? So, shouts out to the homies in Russia. Hope you're doing all right. But, those people are not in the military anyway.
Subs to avoid ads
And
at the top of the hour
they're
every
most
hour.
likely not going to fucking, their lives on the line and get absolutely fucking brutalized by this horrible government.
To defend Russia, that your grandfathers or your great-grandfathers
The Russians are, nah, brother, you work without a VPN.
fought. This is an illegal war. Your lives.
Bro, they're going to clip chimp
Your
this?
limbs.
What? That I said, you know, shouts out to my Russians watching right now? What do you mean?
Your futures are being sacrificed for a senseless war condemned by the entire world. Now, to those in power in the Kremlin, let me just ask you, why would you sacrifice those young men for your own ambitions? To the soldiers who are listening to this, remember that 11 million Russians have family connections to Ukraine. So every bullet you shoot a brother or a sister. Every bomb or every shell that falls is falling not on an enemy, but on a school or a hospital.
I'm a little worried.
Or a home. I know that the Russian people are not aware of such things are happening. So I urge the Russian people and the Russian soldiers in Ukraine to understand the propaganda and the disinformation that you're being told. I ask you to help me spread the truth. Let your fellow Russians know the human catastrophe that is happening in Ukraine. And to President Putin, I say, you started this war.
Praise Summerhill.
You're leading this war. You can stop this war. Now, let me close with a message to all of the Russians who have been protesting on the streets against the invasion of Ukraine. The world has seen your bravery. We know that you have suffered the consequences of your courage. You have been arrested, you have been jailed, and you have been beaten. You are my new heroes. You have the strength of Yuri Petrovich Vlasov. You have the true heart of Russia. My dear Russian friends,
hello.
May God bless you all.
People who are saying, like, did Arnold do this for Iraq? I don't know. I don't think so. But, you know, it's still good. Glad that he did this. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be, being honest. Arnold, he killed it in this one. You know, he was talking to the Russians. But
bless Arnold.
I don't have a... Pretty sure Arnold was a fan of the Iraqi invasion, you know. He was, after all, the governor at the time. And my Arnold impersonation is bad. Okay, shut the fuck up. Impressive that your Arnold accent is dog shit considering your more subtle ones. What is this? He rejects the California vote on Iraq war. He vetoed a bill that would have allowed Californians to vote on whether or not they favor an immediate withdrawal of... Yeah, well, there you go. There you have your answer. Polls have shown most Californians support withdrawing some or all troops from Iraq, but the result would have been only symbolic, with no direct action on the contribution to the country's most populous state to the war. And Arnold already vetoed it. He said, no, we're going to stay in Iraq. We're going to stay in Iraq, Californians.
Hey, the video is over now. But if you enjoyed that, why don't you like, comment, and subscribe? And if you want to see more of that, just go, well, YouTube's got it around here somewhere.